I'm going to give you the freedom. I'm going to give you the autonomy that you want under one condition, is that when you make a mistake, you admit you made the mistake.
Yeah.
We're going to be cool here, and you're going to have what you want, the autonomy that you want, as long as when you make a mistake, we get to talk about it and you admit it. If you don't admit you make a mistake, then you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, that's kind of a good rule for guys in their 20s, even their 30s. Like, you know, I'm going to give you what you want, but you're not going to, you know what I mean? You're not going to be right all the time. And so when you're not right, we're going to be able to talk about it. It gives the young guy in his 20s the freedom to be like, oh, I'm allowed to tell this guy I made a mistake.
Right.
So it kind of takes away that fear too.
If you're a man in your 20s or 30s looking for a men's group, Bible study, men's gathering to discuss and encounter stories that God uses in the book of Genesis to forge men, got something for you. August 11th at 6:45 at the Center for Executive Leadership here in Birmingham. If that's something that resonates with you, you're tired of striving, want a place to just explore more of who God made you to be, I'd love to walk with you. You can book a free conversation with me. The link is in the description. This is not a sales pitch. Just here to come find out more about you, finding more about what I'm doing with The Forge. If you're ready for this full experience, please go to mentorforge.com and check out the Forge program. It's a combination, a weekly group with the podcast and monthly one-on-one meetings designed exactly for men who want to grow who they are and where they're at. So hopefully see you August 11th.
It's just kind of been on my mind a little bit recently, and we talked about it a little bit, and felt like it kind of needed to be fleshed out a little bit more, maybe, was this idea of pursuing truth, starting out deep, aren't we? Pursuing truth while you have, as men, we all have this massive ego.
Yeah.
You know,
That blinds us from the truth.
Yeah. So how do we, how do you continue to work that muscle of pursuing the truth instead of just listening to your ego? Because listening to your ego is a lot easier, and the truth can be a lot harder. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
And so I think for me, it's hard to, it's really hard to admit when you're wrong about something, when you felt so strongly about it, or I would say, especially in my 20s now, I think it's a little bit easier because you see the success of admitting you're wrong pretty quick in the process before you dig yourself in too big of a hole.
Right.
Right. And plus I just know I can be wrong a lot, and so anyway, but I'm wondering, I want to get you talking on, like, why is admitting as men in our 20s and 30s, why is admitting we're wrong so hard, even when we know we're wrong?
Well, I think
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would say a lot of probably stems from growing up in an environment where just being chastised for messing up, for not doing well. And so therefore, like, manhood, masculinity looks like having it all figured out, having all the answers. And so, but it just, when you, I think it comes from a false reality, a false belief, really, that the ego is, it's all about presentation. It's all about, looking like you got it all figured out when actually you're in the inside, you're super insecure. You're walking around. Yeah. So anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, no, I was just going to say, it is interesting because, like, now as you get a little bit older and you get a little bit more experience, you do start to realize that, like, the guys that you looked up to so much, the guys you looked up to, it felt like everything they did was right. And you know what I mean? They were never wrong about anything. So, like, you kind of have this image or expectation in your head that, like, okay, well, when I get to that point in my career or in my life or in my family, the expectation for me to never be wrong, just like those guys were. But the thing you realize is the guys you were looking up to had the same issue.
100%.
They were never, it's like you said, it's all visual. It's all about how you present yourself. So, like, these guys presented themselves confidently. And what you realize about presenting confidence is a lot of time you are not even that confident.
No.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like it's all in your presentation.
Right.
You know, I mean,
Yeah,
it's deceiving in a way.
Yeah, and there's a level, and it's like the guys that really are successful, that really are confident. They've just they've gathered the lessons over the year from being wrong, right? Like, there's a great scene in Landman about that. It's like daughter going, "Daddy, why are you always right?" And he goes, "Well, because I've been wrong so many times that I was able to finally learn the lessons." And it's like the people that really are successful have embrace failure to the degree that as of part of the process. When a lot of times in our 20s, it's like, man, for me to fit into this world, fit into this system of being a man, being successful, being whatever, you feel like you have to take on a level of inauthenticity, really. And you have to take in, and your ego ends up taking over, and it blinds you to like your true growth, man, to really who you meant to become. Because you end up just your ego ends up forming into some version of something that you think is right, and it's just not.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and then the most important thing that's right to you in situations like that is that you come out looking good or puffed up or at least in the eyes of other people. You
Yeah.
end up looking like you're right. That's interesting. It's almost like the ego. It's almost like, you know when you're wrong, but your ego is just telling you, well, you can't appear that way.
Right.
So it's almost like, at least in my experiences, like I've wanted to find a way out and just admit it, but I'm like, well, I'm too far in and I look too
Right.
confident. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? If I back up now, then, maybe people won't respect me in the future when I have an idea.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or when really the opposite's true.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you admit when you're wrong, then when you have an idea in the future, people will kind of feel the freedom to like push back or make it better.
Yeah.
Or,
You develop really trust in the room when you're willing to get that. Just thinking through my own experience has been interesting, because there is like kind of your point. You live the lie long enough, but what you end up doing is you just kind of isolate yourself. And then when the truth starts really closing in, you're so enamored of keeping up the facade that the lie, you almost have to practice the lies to keep it going. And you're almost like, stop. Like, what am I protecting? And that's really, I think, the question when it comes to your ego. What are you at the end of the day protecting? And, it's your ego. That's all. That's what we mean. And this is why we're saying love the truth more than your ego, because what ends up happening is you create, that you end up protecting that versus actual the truth, which the truth, as we know, sets us free. But also the truth, like, it stimulates growth. It creates trust, builds relationships. And it's wild. You really find out who you can depend on, and you really find out those high quality relationships when you're willing to embrace truth. People that want you to keep up a facade and an ego, not the ones that you want in your life long term. Unfortunately, yeah.
You don't want the people that always affirm everything you say
Oh,
to surround you, right?
Echo chambers, man. Boy, there's so many of them, right? Yeah.
Well, and that's true. I mean, that's true. I mean, immediately, my mind always goes to like to work. You know what I mean? But it's also true in your family and in your friend group too. I mean, you don't want friends that'll just be like, yeah, what you're doing's fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's people that are worse than you are, you know what I mean? Or like whatever, like,
yeah.
I mean, I think the true value in friendship is like knowing that, I guess in a way, like knowing where you stand. I don't know. What am I trying to say?
Yeah.
It's almost like knowing where you stand in your own life, because I know that Cartwright will tell me the truth.
Right.
There's almost kind of like a safety in that, as long as you're.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Is that
there's a friend that, basically, if we use the analogy of the Titanic, that goes, hey, there's an iceberg up there who will tell us and actually deflate the, yeah, right. Yeah. Well, it's not going to hurt us. I'm not that, and I think that is a friend at the end of the day versus a friend going, oh, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. You're not drinking that much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you only lie about this stuff, you know?
And that person over there you're dealing with lies more than you do.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like, good gosh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's yeah, it is interesting. I think about people that have been willing to call me out on my crap, have been, how thankful I've become
They're probably still
of
in your
that.
life.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the checking of your ego, it's interesting when you grow up in an environment where when someone finally does call you and it turns into an argument, the ability, and this was probably the next stage of like, all right, well, how do I deflate my ego here? Is like when someone calls you on it, even I've said this probably 1,000 times, but it's like, even if it's only 20% true, own the 20%.
Yeah, you're right.
Learn how to do that. That's how you build trust in relationships. That's how you grow. That's how when you give people a voice in your life, you're saying, hey, I value your opinion. You see a blind spot that I don't see. But a lot of us do is even if we does turn an argument, then we go back and we try to figure out a way around it and deflect and call them out on their crap. You know, it's like, yeah, well, there's no perfect person. So yeah, it's just, thinking really if I think it's a great way to evaluate in our 20s, like, all right, who is around me that actually I have given a voice to speak into my life.
And then who are you
Yeah.
looking up to? You know, who do you want to be like one day who's speaking into your life too and correcting you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is the guy, does the person who's speaking life into you live the life that you could see yourself living when you're 50 or 55 or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, that's why we've talked about this a ton, but especially you and I over the years, but I mean, that was the reason I got out of coaching, was because, man, talk about egos.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be totally wrong on a play call or take a time out at the worst time possible. And Sunday when we're breaking it all down and doing staff meetings, to them, it's like, well, I wasn't wrong. It was my decision, like, and it's like, yeah, I think you're right. But, this is not to beat you up on.
Yeah. We gotta be better.
That you passed it on 4th and 1. It's when it comes back up again next week, how do we get better? I think it's the same thing for us. Like, it's funny, man. I literally, what you just said, I'm going through right now. I've got something going on at work right now that, I build our portal, and so like I build all the software for all of our providers to use and stuff like that. And I'm learning that in real time. And I had something come up this week where, one of our doctors wasn't using it correctly. And it's not the doctor's fault. They just don't know how to use it. And I was tasked with, we'll train them on how to use it. And of course my ego swells and I'm like, I'm not trained. Like, you know what I mean? We've got other people that can train them. I need to keep working on this stuff. You know what I mean? And, I didn't say that out loud, but I kind of just didn't do it because it wasn't a priority to me, even though it was a priority to some of our other leadership.
Yeah.
And, I got called out on it yesterday and, I felt my ego swell.
Yeah.
But then I was like, you know what? It's just not worth it. Like, I just need to do it because I know the path. Like when you swell up and you get defensive, I know the pathway. It's never good.
Yeah.
It's never good.
And the self-awareness to know that's coming is, that's really good.
So just suck it up and do it. You know what I mean? Like, and just
suck it up. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's really interesting. You said that. Literally, that was happening this week. And, I got in trouble for it yesterday. But I mean, we're a medium to small size clinic. Like, you just gotta, we're not corporate. Do what's got to be done. Don't necessarily think about do what's your job.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're not a corporation of.
Yeah, and so for guys that are like, in small to medium sized companies, you know, you have 10 people or you have 5 people or whatever. And, I think a lot of times guys that come from like bigger organizations into smaller type organizations like that, there's a lot of friction because of, well, that's not my job. And it's like, dude, you don't have a job here. This is just,
we're trying to all of us be successful at the same time.
yeah, look, whatever needs to be done needs to get done.
Yeah.
And I've felt my own ego at times be like, well, I don't do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's too low for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, just, you know.
Yeah. And that,
So,
and I think sometimes, especially if you think about this in your 20s, and this has happened to me before, is definitely you know, maybe you've been in a place for a couple of years and you start doing that what it looks like to be successful, or what it looks like for me to feel like I'm progressing in this role outside of compensation and title is I don't do the menial task anymore.
Yeah.
I'm beyond that.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what does that communicate to your bosses? Oh, that you're childish and
Yeah.
you know, and maybe that's what you've seen is like, oh, this is where I get to puff my chest and give this to somebody else.
Yeah. And it makes it, and I certainly don't have the, I can't do that because my boss, yesterday, you know, our AC went out, or this week, whenever it was, and he was in there, you know, putting box fans up and opening doors and trying to fix the unit. I mean, like, there's no,
right.
You know what I mean? So, like, who am I to be like, no, I'm not trading that.
Yeah.
And our CEO's mopping the floor. You know what I mean? So, like, it's, anyway, I feel that for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I would say I still do today. I mean, it is like downstairs, you know, we have a publishing company connected to what we do, and it's not necessarily, I definitely don't work for them, but one of the ladies who's, you know, she's in her 50s and moving, you know, boxes of books by herself. And I'm like, I can do that.
Yeah.
I can put that in the back of your car.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you don't know, I'm not being paid for that.
Right.
But like doing stuff like that, where it's like, hey, you know, it's funny, my back isn't as strong as it was when I first started here, but but I am still the young guy here, which is funny enough. But
you almost get volunteered for that,
right? Yeah. But it's like stuff like that, and I always say that this is what's interesting, and I think for guys 20s, 30s, and some of them are already stepping into this, is I think this is why everybody, especially if there's any inkling of desire to do it, is you become a father, because that will do it. That will help you kill that.
Yeah.
There's like, you can't have an ego when you're changing a diaper.
Where you get thrown up on.
And it's like, men, and I would say our generation is bracing that more. We kind of talked about that as like, as men doing some of those caretaking tasks, you know, because at the end of the day, this child needs to be cared for. They need to have clean diapers. They need to be fed. They need to be held. And it's like, and as men learning to check that ego more and more, is such a fatherhood like forces that issue. It's like, or it'll lead to conflict in your marriage. It's like, check your ego, or your wife will, you'll experience it big time. You'll feel the tension in your marriage. I promise. So it's
and it worked.
Yeah.
Same thing, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And how that filters in other areas of your life. I think it does kind of, it's like being a father, how that, allowing that process of being a dad, then it filters in other areas. And you just start, you just like, you become a more authentic person. One, you become more empathetic, you become aware more of others, so that ego just starts diminishing. But two, you start going, okay, where am I adding value? It's like, what is the best place here? You know, I mean, even at home, like I think I've mentioned this before. It's like you start really thinking about, it's like, all right, I am not the primary caregiver at home. Oh, but when care is being given, where can I be helpful? It's not probably sitting on the couch scrolling on my phone, right? It's probably doing the dishes or cleaning something, or, you know, getting the bed ready for, you know, it's just there's how that's like learning to do that at home, then how that filters then like in a work environment. So you start going, okay, well, I can't, if I'm not in the room creating big strategies for long-term vision of something that I think is what an executive does, well, what else can I do? How can I support that? Thinking through that kind of stuff. I think, and anyway, I always just like come back to that fatherhood question because I didn't become one until I was 39. So you really think about, I don't know, it just forces a part of your brain, a humility that is not necessarily worked until you really start. Yeah, I mean, having kids. I mean, especially if you're not in an environment that encourages feedback, truth, all that kind of stuff. It's just tough. Like, I mean, it's wild that we live. Even in churches, we have that. It's a very bureaucratic. Because I mean, that's what I always come back to. I think about just politicians and stuff like that, and how that's kind of just filtered in other areas of our society, in our offices, in our churches, in our homes, in our friendships and community. It's like, man, it's just a poor way to live. And so there, like, what goes in tandem with that is like, okay, I have to be more willing to hear, like what we said, love the truth more than my ego. All right. Well, then learning in tandem with that, how do I create that in my life? AKA, how do I start learning to share the truth, one with myself, with others, in a way that's received? It's like those two things. That's kind of like, and that's kind of hard, and that's hard. And you have to be around people consistently. We have to be in relationship to find that. And unfortunately, we're all like feel like a mile long and an inch deep.
Yeah.
And so finding those friendships, man. When I talk to guys who have like weekly or even monthly like group meeting with guys and they're like living life on life sharing, I'm like, you have gold, hold on to it.
Yeah.
It's almost like that, the parable Jesus said of the treasure in the field. Like, that is something that's really good. Hold on to that, treasure that. Yeah. And because it's like, especially in your 20s, because we're so transient in our 20s, man.
Mm-hmm.
I think in my 20s, I drove across the country like 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you want to put it in literal terms.
Yeah.
We move jobs, we move churches, friend groups. You move from, you got your high school friends, your college friends, and then you're getting like creating a whole new set of friends in your 20s. And it's like, man,
probably dating and trying to figure out who you with.
Yeah. And it's like all that. And so it's like, how do we still create that almost like culture of truth in our life? And it's tough. It's tough. And so sometimes if it's not provided for us, we got to go out and find it. And that's a lot of what, I do, but man, there's places that it happens, but it's like, man, how do we love the truth more than our ego? And it's like I think it was really humbling for me. And I've shared this on the podcast, a big time moment. Like when I was in my late 20s and working, I had 2 women, both older than me. I did not have any desire necessarily to be in a like long-term friendship or beyond work with them, but they confronted me on something, and I just always they confronted me on my engagement in the process of what we were trying to do and the work we were doing, because I was very much isolated, wanted to do the bare minimum with them and do my own thing, and like that was just going to be much harder and more painful, and so they confronted me, and I remember thinking, they're right, they're not 100% right, and there was part of me that wanted to truly just live. And this is where, I mean, it is wild. We've created almost like a narcissistic culture in the sense that, all right, oh, well, they're only 20, they're the 30% they're wrong. Let me just harp on that. And let me just stay on that, and let me deflect. And it's like, I encourage all y'all right now, if someone does have the courage to confront you on something, whether it's at work, home, community, church, whatever, receive whatever they're hearing, learn to listen. You can definitely chew up the meat, spit out the bones moments, but like learning to then process that and go. And I remember that moment, I really felt like the Holy Spirit just kind of stopped me and it's like, just listen to what they have to say.
Yeah.
Because the overall thing, what they're saying, they, because I'm nodding and going, okay, and I'm listening, it may have taken some liberties. It started just, what's the line from Old School? He was trying to make a point, Frank. You don't have to celebrate it.
Yeah.
So Vince Vaughn, I love Vince Vaughn. Anyway, but it's like learning to then, okay, take that in, receive it. Go, okay, what overall they're wanting from me? It's like, okay, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, it's funny too how, like, so hearing you talk about that, it kind of changes my perspective a little bit on ego. I think ego to me has always been like, I have to be right, or I have to be, but really at the core of like this deceiving part of ego is like, it really doesn't have anything to do with me. I just want to look like I'm the smartest, coolest, baddest person here. And it's funny when you think about it that way.
Yeah.
And then you think about guys that like get into their 40s and 50s and start making really good money. Mm-hmm. And like the guys that, I don't know, this is probably not 100% true, but I think it is a lot of the times, is the guys with the egos and the money, man, they have to show you their money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're buying the biggest house. They're, the nicest car, stuff like that. And I think all that's okay, but it almost is like, I got to make sure that people know how successful I am. You think about the humble men like that we both know that are extremely wealthy guys, especially here in Birmingham, Mountain Brook, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And you have both, but like the humble ones, I mean, they live in a nice house, but it's not something that you would like glance at if you drove by. You know what I mean? Like my dad drove the same green Suburban until it literally died on the side of the road.
Yeah.
And then he's driving the same car that he got 10 years ago again. You know what I mean? There's just there's no need for the guys that are able to kind of at least, I don't know, like work through their ego. There's no need for them to show you how successful they are.
Right.
And when you scale it all the way back to when you're 20s and you're probably not making a lot of money, but the whole point of the ego lie is, no, hold on. I have to show you how smart I am with this.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not so much like, it's not so much that I don't want to get to the same result you are. I just have to make sure you know that I'm the one whose idea it was.
Right.
I mean, how many times have you had an idea that ends up working and somebody else gets credit for it?
Oh, man.
And just that knife that goes in your gut. And it's like, how do I subtly bring this up so that people know that it was? I've done that.
That's the ego talking.
Especially me. Like, I don't have good ideas a lot. So when I have one, it's like, I got to own this.
Please give me credit.
But I mean, that's kind of a shade of ego, right? I mean,
100%.
I mean, I can't let them take credit for this.
Yeah.
This is my idea. How do I tell the people that I respect so that they see me?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They see me for being the amazing person that I am. Right. You know what I mean?
Like, to your point, I mean, you're making a point is like, from what I'm talking about, like ego tries to protect the image, but ego also demands attention. Mm. It's like, how do we kill those desires in our heart of like, man, I don't need to present a certain image to people. I just need to be myself and live from that place, because I'm going to be the most fulfilled, the most excited, hopeful, present. I mean, I'm just going to enjoy more life when I'm living for myself and not protecting somebody. But then too, to your point, it's like, if I'm constantly trying to demand attention, like if that's the greatest currency in life.
Yeah.
And what it is, it comes from a desire to be loved, which is a real thing, but it gets warped. Mm. And it's like, I want to be seen, known, right? There, I think that is a core desire of humanity, but our ego takes over and it's all about credit.
Yeah.
Give me the credit. Yeah.
I love getting credit.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah, man.
I love getting credit.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting is you go back to the whole money thing, because we are, noticing this about certain people, and it's like money can um, it can feed the ego to the point where you can love the ego more than the truth. And I like that comparison language of like coming back to that place, and where I've just known certain guys, because they can pay for something, they don't actually have to be confronted with the truth because they can, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a great example was, I think, Michael Jordan, right? In The Last Dance, they talked about that. It's like he kind of got to the point, right, where it was like, man, the only people around him really were the people he was paying.
Yeah.
And you're like, how much truth is he, in probably areas outside of basketball that he was hearing? And you think about the people like in that place. It's like, man, you really can just surround yourself with yes men. And so how do you create that culture before that happens, right? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of very intelligent, very talented people that, they may not be in the success of like a Michael Jordan even yet, but like, how do you create that? Like, going back to what I'm saying, like that culture of truth, so that when you do kind of reach that level of success, you can look back and say, oh, it's because I chose the truth over my ego, and I allowed that money to dictate. Anyway, it's an interesting, like, it is a journey to go on, and it doesn't happen overnight, that killing of your ego. And there's still days it pops up, even for me.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, it does take time, because it's almost like when you see it, when you get to experience the peace from admitting when you're wrong, and then experiencing the lack of backlash that you get, and then also the respect that you earn. You know what I mean? Because it's like, when you experience it a few times and you're like, okay, I'm going to try this out. I'm going to admit I'm wrong, because I know I'm wrong.
Right.
And then you're met with more respect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you do that a few times, and then you're like, oh, okay, this is the way to do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not that you won't feel that temptation, because I mean, I think we all do.
Yeah.
But like, it's just with that experience, you're like, okay, yeah, this is the way.
Yeah.
Don't dig myself in a hole, because if I want to give everyone a visual here of how insecure I may be, it's show my ego when I'm 23 years old or 25 years old. You know what I mean? I mean, that's like the quickest way ever. I have a guy that that I talk to all the time that owns a big company here in Birmingham, and he hires a lot of young guys, because like a lot of young guys want to get into sales and stuff like that. And young guys in their 20s, because I was the same way, you want autonomy. You know what I mean? You want to like kind of be able to do what you want to do. You don't want to be in a cubicle. And so he always tells them, he's like, I'm gonna give you the freedom. I'm gonna give you the autonomy that you want, under one condition, is that when you make a mistake, you admit you made the mistake.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not, we're gonna be cool here, and you're gonna have what you want, the autonomy that you want, as long as when you make a mistake, we get to talk about it and you admit it. If you don't admit you make a mistake, then you're gone. I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, that's kind of a good rule for guys in their 20s, even their 30s. Like, I'm gonna give you what you want, but you're not gonna, you know what I mean? You're not gonna be right all the time. And so when you're not right, we're gonna be able to talk about it. And I think, one, it's gonna weed out people that you probably don't want to be working with, but then two, it gives the young guy in his 20s the freedom to be like, oh, I'm allowed to tell this guy I made a mistake.
Right.
So it kind of takes away that fear too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, I mean, if you want to look insecure, then I mean, that's where all my ego comes from. It's like, well, I'm not sure about this, but I have to make sure that I look like I am, or look like I'm smart, or, you know what I mean? And,
well, I mean,
talk about the most unattractive thing ever to people,
That's the thing. It's like, and whether it was in sports, school, our friend group. I mean, that's the thing, is like our peer group kind of creates that, or even, some of our family life is that's where it's like, man, how do you foster that in family, so a kid feels secure in who he is, so that when he doesn't go into his friend group, it is all about performance, looking a certain way, not, whether it's being the funniest or the most athletic or the smartest. Like, we all come to like that it's kind of fostered in our communities and relationships. So it's like almost built where you get to that point where in a work environment, it's like, oh, they can't know that don't know that.
Yeah.
Or I'm not that smart, or I'm not that talented, or I didn't know those informations, when it's like, I mean, I always come back to the John Maxwell quote that I've probably used before. It's like, him having that moment when he was in his 20s and he was in a group of men that he admired. And I think it was like a group of pastors, and he, there's an opportunity to ask a question. And he didn't want to ask a question because he didn't want to be dumb. He didn't want to sound dumb asking the obvious question.
Yeah.
And then he left and he goes, from then on I made a decision. I would rather look stupid than be stupid.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah. At the end of the day, it's like, that's the posture you have to take in your 20s, even if they laugh at you. I'm like, okay, I just wanted to know. Like, I got to know. Like, like the whole thing, there are no dumb questions. It's like, yeah, I think in your 20s, like we talked about, I think in the last episode, there's no bad meetings. Same way.
Yeah, that's right.
That posture of a learner.
Mm-hmm.
And that will carry you the rest of your life, Yeah,
if you want to transition a dumb question, I asked a dumb question the other day at work that I certainly should have known. And I was kind of worried to ask, but I mean, if you want to transition into a dumb question or something that you think may be a dumb question, then tell people, hey, I'm about to ask a dumb question.
Yeah.
and then it's okay after that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I think you're right. People will respect, like, okay, well, it's all right.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And you're engaging in the process.
Yeah.
There's a level of, that says something. Hey, I'm here to learn. I'm here to get better. That's what that says. It doesn't, versus you keeping it, to yourself and trying to figure out your own.
Yeah.
We've
got someone who's a medical assistant for us, and she was in we do a big, we call it huddle every morning. So like everybody comes together, we talk about who's coming to clinic that day, all that stuff, right? And this medical assistant, she asked a question like of how what they're doing relates and helps the entire business.
Yeah.
And me and a few of the other directors afterwards were like, that really impressed us.
Yeah.
Like she was trying to understand, you know what I mean? Like why do I need to make sure that the visit notes are in a demand package?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Well, it's like, oh, okay, well, this is because the demand package goes here, and then this is how we generate revenue and stuff like that. So it's important that what you enter in there is correct. Anyway, it was just a moment where me and two other people kind of looked at each other and were like, all right, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's great.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so that's a good example, and I'll give a bad example of, I mean, I've worked for somebody and I start wanting to know more of the process behind the curtain type stuff. And they took it as me questioning their ability. And so they got mad at me for asking those kind of questions. And like, and, right. Yes. And it could have been, it was just poor timing. I didn't ask it in the right moment but whatever. But there's still like, that's where you can. So I think that's where she getting that positive feedback was probably good, because it made her go, okay, this is a place for me.
Mm-hmm.
This is a place for me to learn, to grow where I'm at, to elevate. To me, it was a good sign. I was like, okay, I don't think I could work for this person long term. Mm-hmm. Anytime I ask a question, it's like I'm questioning, or I'm disrupting their day by me trying to learn more about what they do. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's where you can kind of like, but you holding it all in and thinking you can figure it out on your own, that's not going to last long term.
Yeah.
And so learning how to, develop that part of your bit, you can really, it's almost like, I think we've talked about this, but there's a level of when you're willing to check your ego, live in the truth, you can then test the waters and see, all right, where does I fit? Where do I fit long term? Can I grow here? Can I truly become the better version of myself in this environment? So anyway.
Yeah. I mean, not having an ego really reveals a lot.
Yeah.
Because it's like you've been saying, it's just, it's rooted in truth, where when you have an ego, you don't really know where you stand because you're not,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
You're self-protecting.
you're self-protecting. And then when you do that, probably everyone around you feels like they need to do that when they're around you.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so it creates an environment where it's kind of a black hole.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we all know those types of people, right? That I mean, if so, you create that, and then one time you do reach out to ask questions, people think you're trying to get credit. You're trying to steal credit for yourself. You're only fishing for yourself. You're not really there to learn. It's just like
it's always a net negative too. Like if you're at level 0 in the eyes of your leaders or whatever, you're not going to gain any points by taking credit.
No.
You're going to go negative.
Right. Yeah.
Because then it's not about your idea anymore, and it's not about it working. It's about you needing to take the credit, which to every leader is going to be like, oh, that I don't like that.
No,
you know what I mean?
Can't trust that kid.
It's not like, oh yeah, man, you're right. That was your idea.
Yeah.
You're going up a notch. It never works like that, right? But I've fallen for that so many times. And then every time you try to subtly take credit, afterwards you're like, yeah, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just never good. It's so funny though in our minds how this is gonna be good right here. And when I get credit for this,
Yeah.
It's never good.
Well, so I mean, that may be a good example to hit. It's like, and it could be just the way you go about it. Because I know what you're talking about. You try to subtly in a group setting, or you do it in an insecure way.
That one day.
Yeah. Versus hitting it head on, going straight to the leader, like, hey, can I have a minute with you? It's like, hey, you in the meeting we're saying this, and this about, but I felt like you didn't acknowledge me from that I did that, and and you could see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Don't try for a certain result of making sure you get credit, but go, hey, I did a lot of work for that, and I would, not that I need the credit, but I want to know why you didn't either acknowledge me or you gave it to somebody else. Learning to do it that way versus the insecure way of you're right, subtle hint.
Yeah.
Hey, you remember when I did that? And
when I was coming up with that,
it was really awesome, right?
Does everybody remember that?
Hey, remember that? Because it was Tuesday last month at 6:02.
And I wrote it down. It's right here.
Wrote it right here. I promise.
People hate that, man. I hate that. I hate that so much. I hate that so much. We'll have different sales interns and stuff like that, and me and Drake or Daphne, people that do sales with me, we'll be working on an account for years, and then we'll have a sales intern come in and they'll do a drop in. We'll have them hey, go drop off cookies and then get out of there. You know what I mean? We don't, you don't need to be taking questions from, but sometimes they'll this happened a few years ago, but they'll be yeah, I've made big progress on this one account because I went by there twice, and it's dude, Daphne went by there 50 times over the last 3 years. You know what I mean? She's had 10 meetings with them.
Yeah.
They've negotiated
stop standing on my shoulders and calling yourself tall.
Yeah, you just need to understand. I think guys in their 20s, you just need to understand, it's about working hard. It's about learning. It's about, nothing in your 20s. If your ego has any place in your 20s, I just don't see that going well at all. And I used to, again, about my coaching stuff, but it's just how I view everything. But with my players, these guys are in college and they've always been the best player on their team, and they've always, and it's man, if you come in here with an ego, you're going to get humbled so quickly.
Right.
Because there's guys 3 years, 4 years ahead of you that are going to put you on your back.
Yeah.
And not only that, they're going to be better, bigger, stronger than you. You're going to have a target on you.
Yeah.
If you come with an ego. I don't think it's any different when you're 23 and you get a new job. I really don't.
Right.
If you come up with an ego, you're going to have a target on you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
100%.
And for right or wrong, it's just how people are. And it's just, I mean, that would be like my number one piece of advice for guys in their early 20s.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, please, like the one thing to avoid like the plague as you get into the business world or you start doing a job, don't have an ego.
Yeah.
That's getting you nowhere
No.
so quickly, especially if you're working for probably men, you know?
Right.
Anyway, sorry, it was a tangent.
No, that's good. It's like, man, love the truth more than your ego. I just, yeah. It's like, man, those are the guys that are really thrive, get ahead quicker than those who won't, you know? Because I think it even starts in just even the interview process. It starts in looking for a job, you know? Because I think, you know, I would say that's a lot of my getting out of college, just like, you know, not even wanting to interview because my ego is too big. Like, I don't want to do that, or I'm too big for that.
I'd definitely do that.
You know, and it's like, man,
I absolutely did that.
you got to think in different context. So it's interesting.
Well, there's a really good example. So there's this kind of a way to maybe wrap it up was to do a biblical example, and I thought this was really cool. And I'd forgotten about this, but it's when David, after he has the affair with Bathsheba, and Nathan comes and rebukes him for it.
Oh, yeah.
And David, he took it, right? I mean, didn't he accept the feedback, or
well, it started out as a story. He told a story of basically the scenario.
Yeah, that's right.
And David, his response was, "Well, that man should be, you know,
oh yeah, okay, yeah,
you know, kill whatever." And Nathan goes, "Come on, man."
Look at you.
That's, you know, using the story to mirror, you know.
Didn't David take it?
And then he broke down and asked, you know, I can't remember which psalm, but it's basically him asking for forgiveness before the Lord and what he'd done.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
King
David, the man after God's own heart.
Yeah, man. Know? Yeah. So it's like those moments, how do I create that environment? And as a king, you know, Nathan was basically putting his life in David's hands. But like, hey, one way to do it is, through story. Hey, what is a way? It's a unique way for me to hold the mirror. You know, sometimes we think about, asking questions or going to a boss and ask for feedback or a mentor, but sometimes it is like just unique ways of figuring out. And some of it is just asking God in prayer, like, Lord, like, send someone here, you know, provide an opportunity. Like, I mean, sometimes even reading a book or a podcast episode, like, will bring something to light of like, oh man, I've been missing out on that. And so I think it's just a heart posture to start with that then it starts feeding that thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's fun, man. All right. Can we do a little promo or at least test it out?
Yeah, come on.
So maybe we can, anyway, so this fall, you know, it's very similar in line, but we want to make this podcast. A lot of times when I meet one-on-one guys and when I meet in my studies and groups is like, how do I, you know, align all three and really, so we're going to be rolling out. So this fall, I going through the book of Genesis, going to use the stories that God has that are already there for us, that talk about how God formed these men and use these different stories to really help men engage in their own story. Really, how do you, if you really want to, like, I think it's a John Eldredge quote of like, if you really want to grow, I got to be willing to engage in your own story. What is the story that God has me in? How do I own that story? How do I trust the story that God, and I think Genesis really does kind of kick that off. And so that'll be happening starting the week of August 10th. I got 2 different groups, one on Tuesday, one on Thursday. And then I think I'm going to do a virtual group on Tuesday lunch. And that'll be primary teaching, but it's interesting, Bo. Yeah. I've just kind of like, really excited about it. I don't know if you got any thoughts on it, but anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I think what I was going to say, I mean, this has been my story. Going through Cartwright's thing has been my story. Yeah. And I can tell you this, like, you know, all the stuff that I say on this podcast that has really, formed my life, not because it's like, going to make you successful, but because it just changes your perspective. It kind of gives you it allows you to almost in a way zoom out from you for a second, and then just kind of, with Cartwright's help, figure out what drives you, figure out, oh, that right there, that's ego. This is truth right here. Or, hey, actually, you're not wrong in your thinking there. That's not wrong. And so I just don't know. Like, I feel sympathy for men in their 20s in their 30s that don't have a resource like this. You know what I mean? Because it's just, I just don't know where I would be today. I'm not saying I would be like in prison, but I'm not sure that I would be, I'm not sure I would be in a healthy marriage, not because Carly's not amazing. She is, but because of my ego.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that, I'd have such healthy relationships with the people that I work for and work with. And it's not because we mentioned this last week, but the point of it is not to, you're not coming in to try and change the people around you. Come in and have the humility to come in and really try to change yourself and how you view things. So that, you can get through that situation that you're dealing with, or, my point is you need help with this stuff. You know what I mean? You really need help with this stuff, especially in your 20s, and especially in your 30s.
Yeah.
Because you're being hit with it in real time, and you don't have the experience to lean back on. So it's just, I think it's probably the most important thing I've done. You know what I mean? So like, I can't I can't talk good about it enough.
Right.
Talk good about it.
He talk good.
Is that how you say it?
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Thank you, Bo.
Yeah. I think there is something too of starting with in the, there's something about like men, we really need to understand these stories at a deeper level. One that it really does humble us to go like, oh, it's not necessarily about me, because that's what we do as Westerners. When we read the Bible, we insert ourselves in the story immediately. It's like, no, this is a bigger story that I'm part of, that God is inviting me into. Yeah. But then too, it really does, that next level, it does invite us to hold up the mirror in our own life of how does it then change me? So like, but we have to first start of like understanding the big picture. And I think that's what's great about this. Like I get excited about the study. It's like, I want men to engage in the story, to then self-reflect, and then and so we're going to utilize the podcast more of like helping men do that through that story. But also like, hey, yeah, I'm also like, I'm here to encourage you to meet with somebody one-on-one and offer my services. As well as like, man, there's a way to do this well, and help you structure that to go not only hear the story that you've probably heard and hear it in a deeper way, but then next level, like, how do I then engage with it in a way that it changes me? And so I think that's really the fun, that excitement, the power. And so I appreciate, Bo, you sharing a little bit of your story about it, because it's like, man, there's something to this book that we talk about all the time. And we easily compartmentalize in our life, and there's a separation of it. It's good, but is it good to the level where it actually shapes me, forms me, and changes my story?
And guys too, I mean, like guys in their 20s, I was like this, like you start thinking about the stock market, and, like, how can I put in $50 and get 100 back? Or, you know what I mean? Because that's kind of like, men are always talking about that. Like, how can I get a return on my investment? And, like for something like this, I mean, I just don't know what's a better return than getting a better understanding of yourself and having, a better outlook on things, not because Cartwright's some magician, but because he's taking biblical truths, and he's not only teaching me about these things, but he's allowing me to kind of spill out all this stuff that's in my head, and then dissect it, and then give me the truth that's filling in the gaps there. And so, I mean, in return, I guess if you talk about return on investment, you are more at peace with yourself.
Yeah.
You understand yourself better. You understand your marriage a little bit better.
Yeah.
I understand why Carly, why what I said could be hurtful to her, and where that hurtful thing is coming from. Is it coming from ego? Is it coming from any of these things that you teach in that curriculum?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, I just challenge, you're not going to get 3X on your money, but you're going to get 10X on figuring out who you are, which in turn is going to get probably, put you in better positions. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I just think that with guys being like, I hear guys all the time, especially the young guys, like, you start thinking that you're going to get rich on the stock market. But I mean, that's kind of a thing, but it's
DraftKings or something.
But you get DraftKings. That's right.
Yeah.
But the return you get in something like this is way bigger than putting money on SpaceX.
Yeah.
Didn't that just go public?
Yeah, it did. Yeah. Very good investment.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, thanks, Bo. Anyway, yeah. So I'll have the sign up in the show notes or something to click on. Or you could just email us, cartwright@menofforge.com. Reach out, please. So that'll start the August 10th. So be looking for that. Find out more information at menofforge.com.
It's exciting.
Yeah, man. And thank y'all for listening. Hey guys, Cartwright here. Excited about what we're doing at Men Are Forged. If you want to participate in one of our episodes, please send in a question. We want this podcast to answer the questions you're asking. In the description, click that link. Hey, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Today's episode is brought to you by Bravenly Hydrate. It's hot out there, and you got to stay hydrated because regular water is just not going to cut it. And the main brand sports drinks got stuff you don't need to consume. So I recommend hitting the link in the bio and checking out Bravenly Hydrate. Lemon lime is my favorite flavor, but I recommend checking out more of Bravenly products. It's really great stuff for your health and well-being. So hit the link in the bio to find out more about Bravenly products.